This book started off with the quote, "The church is the only place where you can get robbed and nobody calls the police." This quote is from Leandria Johnson. This author's experience about finding themselves in a cult and then getting kicked out of a cult. You guys, when I say this happens, so much easier than people realize. Sometimes you find a church and you'll feel like this is it. The word is good, the word is sound, they're reading from the Bible, they share the same biblical views that you have. Um, you feel surrounded by love, feel surrounded by community. And if this is what you've been searching for, you'll feel like your prayers have been answered. There comes a time sometimes where you wake up and you realize, I feel like what the pastor said last night was a little, is that biblically sound? Is that, the true Christian way, or is it Christian culture? After you have that occur enough times, sometimes you have this almost light bulb moment of, I think my church may be doing me a disservice. And once you start asking yourself a series of questions of, are some of the behaviors and cultures of the church I'm a part of, is it harming more people than it's doing good? Sometimes it's hard to come to that conclusion when you're like, but they read from the word of God. We see what they're reading in the Bible. It's not like he's twisting and turning this and that. And then sometimes too, once you get in deep enough with the pastor and maybe their family and the community in the church, sometimes you may feel like, well, you know what? I feel like he rubbed me the wrong way when he told me this off to the side, or maybe the first lady, she made me feel uncomfortable when she made a comment about my dress that I was wearing or the way that I'm shaped. I don't want to speak out so much because they've done so much for me, or because, you know what, maybe I'm overthinking it. Once you pass all of that and you realize this just might be a cult, this would be the next book to read. There are so many different experiences that preachers' kids go through. If you were raised in a church, like when I say raised, I mean you were there twice on Sunday, every Tuesday, there for Wednesday Bible study, there for the deacons, whatever, brothers service on Thursday, there on Friday afternoon to help your mom run an errand. On Saturday, you guys were knocking on doors and fellowshipping and trying to invite people out, then back again on Sunday. If you grew up with that experience, there's nothing in this book that is going to alarm you, because being a preacher's kid is such a particular experience. This author talks about how after her mother passed, the way she viewed God was different as well. Her relationship with God was different. Her desire to go to church was not in the same place. And sometimes people will make you feel kind of bad because they'll be like, oh, well, your loved one that you used to go to church with, they wouldn't want you feeling this way. They wouldn't want you to think that way. The way that people experience grief, even if they are a Christian, a believer, if they are someone that goes to church, it is not a uniform experience. When you look at that wheel of grief, it's not a just gradual thing. This is a process that people go through. Sometimes you may experience anger when you thought you were over certain aspects of things. You may experience sadness on days that you were just having a great day. You were just laughing. And then all of a sudden you heard a song and it made you think about them. If you had a mother that was going to a church where she gave her last to this church, she used to make sure she did tithes, she did offerings, she volunteered. Say you go to the church and now it's time to bury your mother, and the church is like, oh, well, your mother didn't pay the last 2 months of her tithes. I know she was in the hospital sick, but we're not going to be able to do the funeral here. That may make you start to feel like church is not all that important to you. Maybe I don't want to pray as much anymore, because you might begin to find yourself questioning God. Well, God, you knew my mother was trying to do the right thing. You knew she was trying to be a woman after your heart. Why did you allow this and that to happen? People begin to question things very quickly. And I saw in the book how people will be like, just pray about it. Just pray about it can be one of the most backhanded remarks that you could give somebody. Not to say that people shouldn't pray over their circumstances. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when someone comes to you with a concern, a legitimate concern. something that is really, truly weighing heavy on their spirit, that they are seeing occurring in the church, occurring with the pastor and the way he interacts with women, occurring with the way that the first lady may be recruiting and preying on certain people in the church. When you just said, well, just pray about it, it's almost like you're telling this person, please shut up, because I'm not willing to, I don't want to talk about it. I think it'd be better sometimes if people just say that. Like, I don't share the same experience. Or, yes, I do think that it is a little shady that every single Sunday the pastor is telling us we need to give $100 towards the building fund so that we can have a parking lot in the back of the church. And we've been giving towards this building fund for 3 years and we still don't have a parking lot. And we still have not seen any renovations on the church. And I'm beginning to wonder, where is my money going? And when I don't show up to church on Tuesday, the pastor is guilting me and making me feel like I am a bad Christian and I don't love God because I should be there every time that the church doors are open. It's easy to find yourself in a cult. And at the time, you never feel like it's a cult. Hindsight, you'll realize very quickly, why didn't I think that was weird? Why didn't I walk away sooner? And once you go through all of those would-have, should-have, could-haves, you find yourself going through a process of learning to forgive yourself. Sometimes when you're ready to speak up and speak out, when you're at a church or when you're in a cult, some people will try and silence you. Some people will say, you just need to get deeper into the word of God. See, this is why I'm your spiritual leader. This is why God has put me in front of you and not you in front of me, because you're still learning and you need to just take what I'm saying as the holy grain itself. People can really gaslight you into silence. Sometimes you may have a friend that you go to church with. Maybe you and her got on fellowship together. Your children play together. You guys go different places, do different activities together. If you speak out about that church or cult in a way that she is not ready to mentally wrap her mind around, your friend might leave you out high to dry, and you'll be like, girl, but we were just saying the pastor made us both feel uncomfortable when he touched us that way. We both feel like we're being used at this, like, how come now that I'm speaking out about it publicly, girl, you just said that you felt the same way and you were going to have my back? Why are you sitting here staring at me like I got 3 heads now that I'm speaking out? I thought we were in this together. Just because you're ready to step away from a church or a cult, do not expect the people that you've been hanging with and chilling with, just because they've been saying, I agree, you don't be surprised if they end up being someone that leaves you out to dry. Not only that, the book talks about when you're ready to start making the process to move away from a cult, if you have a spouse or your family is very heavily involved in it, you may want to come up with a safe plan of how to step away. Because what happens if you and your husband or you and your wife do not come to the realization this is a cult at the same time? What if you're like, this church is literally bamboozling people? We're not going anymore. I don't want the kids going anymore. What happens if your husband says to you, I'm still bringing these kids to this church. I'm still bringing these kids to this organization. And if you want to step out of where I feel like God has us, then you can leave, but you're not going to see these kids anymore. What do you do then? There's literally so many shows and documentaries of people losing everything when they decide, I no longer want to partake in these activities, and their spouse or family members being like, okay, we dang near going to kill you if you try and leave. We're dang near going to make sure you lose everything if you even try to make others leave as well. This book was absolutely spot on. It gave you so many warning signs that you should be able to look out for. It gave you tips on how to support someone if they are in a situation where you're looking like, homegirl, I think you might be in a cult. This was a very good read. The book is available at Kindle Unlimited. This author has penned so many different books about situations that happen in churches, things that happen between pastors and the members of churches at times. This author does such a great job of shedding light on situations that if you know, you know, and if you don't, it's going to be very informative. Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you've already read this book, or if you've read any other books by this author and you feel like I probably haven't. Drop a title in the comments and let me know so I can check it out. And I'll see you guys in the next book review.